Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by. And here we are, one more day of life in these amazing bodies on this beautiful earth. And let's face it, this beautiful earth is a little challenged right now, or at least the top layer of life. Maybe the earth itself is probably fine, but the top layer of life, you could say the earth's skin, is definitely facing some challenge right now. I'd say it's been facing some challenge for a long time, and maybe we as human beings have been able to ignore it to different levels. But right now, it's not ignorable for human beings that evil is alive and well, and by evil, I just mean disorder, that which is harmful to life, that which seeks to make life more miserable, is alive and well and active. So, how do we respond to this? Well, I don't like to speak in absolutes, and fundamentally, it seems to me that we as individuals have really one of two choices, is fear or faith. All right, let me put it another way, because not everyone who comes by this channel might resonate with the word faith. And we can have a negative reaction or a positive reaction. We can have a reaction that's going to increase our sense of suffering. Let me just get really basic. We can have a positive or negative reaction. We can have a negative reaction, which increases our suffering, which will lead us to be less healthy, less happy, and less harmonious, or we can have a positive reaction. We can react to what's happening in the world right now, and not just the world right now, but anytime there are stresses and challenges, we can react in a way that's actually helpful to us and helpful to others. So the primary way that I know to have a healthy or helpful reaction to challenge is faith. I don't want to say that's the only way. That's the primary way I know. That's the way that works for me. And of course, that's the primary way taught by Jesus Christ. And of course, this is the primary way that was um, clarified and elaborated by Bruno Groening. So for anyone who's new to this channel is based on the authentic teachings of Jesus Christ. And what I mean by the authentic teachings of Jesus Christ is the way of life. That Jesus Christ didn't come to found a religion. He came to teach people how to live. He came to teach people how to draw closer to God, to live in alignment with God. And this message has gotten, the path, some people call it discipleship. I resonate with that. Some Christians say, talk about discipleship, that in essence, that Christ is the master and we're here to learn how to have him be the master teacher and for us to learn under him. And I resonate with that because that's a path of being transformed and learning and growing and learning how to do life, how to navigate life. There's been a lot put on top of that. And where that fundamental message that Christ came to show us how to live here and now has been so buried over that apparently God needed to send another messenger, because in 1949, in post-World War II Germany, a very simple and humble man named Bruno Groening went about doing healings. Tens of thousands of people experienced miraculous healings And when I say miraculous healings, I mean terminal cases of cancer vanishing. I mean blind people regaining their vision. And he also taught, and he said that what he was teaching was simply and only the teachings of Jesus Christ. And he said, if people had gotten the message 2,000 years ago, I wouldn't have needed to come. Bruno Groening came to remind us that Christ did not come to found a religion. He came to teach us how to live. In fact, Bruno Groening said that what he was doing, that he was not trying to start a new religion. He encouraged people to go to their places of worship and to practice what they were taught there. So, what is this way of life that Christ taught and Bruno Groening reminded us of that can help us in all aspects of in life, but especially can help us in April 2020 to um, to actually thrive under these circumstances? Well, one of the first things, well, he taught many things. It's not for me to say it first, but one primary thing that Bruno Groening taught, and of course we can find little snippets of this in the Bible, is that there is a divine energy. There is a divine power that's available to help us in all aspects of life. And that it's very important for us to stay full of this power and ultimately to stay connected to it all through the day. And he taught a very simple way to do that. So please, I'm going to lead us through it's not really meditation, it's not really prayer, it's something in between. I'm going to lead us through a practice of communing with God and taking in the energy of God. Please sit, and these are what I'm going to share, just the instructions that Bruno Groening shared. And I'm utterly convinced if we had a full record of everything that Christ said when he was here on this earth, we would find these exact same instructions. Please sit with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor, hands on your legs, palms facing upwards, back in an upright position, neither stiff nor slouched, just a nice upright position. And that's the physical preparation. Once you have that, please close your eyes and be open to the idea that there is an all-pervasive energy which is available for us to take in. And now hand over to your understanding of a higher power. Hand over any worries, burdens, fears. Any life situations that feel stressful. And hand over any illnesses. And what I mean by that is, for example, let's say you have a cold and you have all these symptoms and sensations. Please hand over the thought, the belief, oh, I'm sick. Give that away so that maybe you still have the same sensations. Maybe when you give it away, the sensations literally disappear. I've had that happen. But just giving away the illness and the idea of illness. And then take on the idea of healing. Focus, give your entire attention to your healing. And then ask to receive this healing life energy. And then observe your body, having the will, the intention to take this energy in. Noticing what you feel, and now recognizing that every sensation is a step towards your recovery. observing the body, knowing, trusting that every sensation is now the body readjusting itself, coming back into divine order. If you become aware of any negative thoughts, firmly giving them away. If the mind is wandering, you can just repeat a short prayer or watch your breath as we have this intention to take in healing, life, energy. So, to anyone who's new, I invite you to continue observing your body. I'm going to talk and read a little, continuing to take in this energy. So, Bruno Groening said that the body needs to be under divine guidance. But I saw that and I said, that doesn't sound quite right. And of course, he didn't say that. He doesn't speak English as a translation. So, as some of you know, I'm starting to learn German to really delve in. The German is Gottlichen Führen. So Gottlichen is divine. That part's clear. Führung. Please forgive my pronunciation. Führung does not mean guidance, actually. It means to be, in this context, to be led, meaning that um, the body has to literally be led by God, by this energy. Bruno Groening said, spirit rules over matter. You know, this word Führung, it also has this connotation of leadership, of being guided. Um, Guidance just doesn't quite capture the strength of the word. To be led is another meaning of, or leading, or a leader. So the thing is These bodies, we like to think of ourselves as these independent adults, and it's just not true. Every aspect of our life, our body, our mind, our soul, is designed to be in connection to God and actually to be led by God, to be führen by God. So, what does that mean? Well, I'm just beginning. I just found this out. I just right before this broadcast, so I'm just beginning to digest. What does it mean the body needs to be under divine leadership? Well, first and foremost, what it means to me is the recognition that this body is not sustained by food and drink, that while exercise and good sleep habits are very healthy, the body is not sustained by that. The body is sustained and nourished by the energy of God. And so, if we want to be healthy and happy, what's absolutely necessary is to take in this energy, this divine life energy. I don't know that Bruno Groening ever likened it like this. And what I've come to understand from this teaching is that, you know, we need this divine life energy the way we need air. It's the same, but different. We cannot go without air. And um, if we stop consciously breathing, if we get busy with something and we're not aware of our breath, the body does it on its own. But of course, it's so much more powerful if we consciously take in this breath. There are many forms of meditation and yoga that are based around that. All across history and time, people have discovered, oh, when I consciously breathe, it's very powerful. Well, and I believe a similar way, this body is actually sustained and nourished by the divine life force. And if we don't consciously take it in, we'll unconsciously take it in to a much lesser extent. But we human beings have forgotten that we need nature and we need God. And it's not just some spiritual idea, oh, I need God. But according to Bruno Groening, it goes right to our biology that these bodies aren't sustained by food and drink alone. But we like to think they are. And in the yogic tradition of India, and so to be clear, yoga isn't really, what I'm talking about is not what you're going to hear about in the average yoga class. The yogic tradition is a deep, profound, not so much philosophy, but a practical, it's kind of a, what do I want to say? It's just not what you're going to hear in the average yoga class. So in the yogic tradition, a large amount of our life energy comes from sleep, but not for the reason we think. It comes for two reasons. Through dreams, we expel and process a lot of negative stuff, which of course Bruno taught us to do while we're awake, to reflect on our day, to process the day, and then also to rid ourselves of negative thinking and feeling. So through dreams, we expel negativity, and then in between dreams, the soul is actually, this is from the yogic point of view, the soul is in communion with God. And then through that communion, the body is infused with energy. So, from a yogic perspective, we don't actually need sleep. We need God. One of my spiritual heroes, Ramana Maharshi, a Indian, people call him guru. I would call him Satguru, which is like the highest of high in, not the highest of high, but a very reverential term in the Hindu tradition. Once he had an awakening, once he was enlightened, he didn't need to sleep. So he was enlightened when he was at the age of 16, And um, until he left his body somewhere in his 60s, he didn't sleep a single night. He was in such a state of communion with God that that energy just permeated his body. So again, Bruno and Jesus spoke about our need for God, but so often it's made this sort of faraway thing like, I need God so that when I die, I can go to heaven, or I need God for some spiritual reason. But we also need God on a very biological level. And the yogic tradition highlights it. This body runs on God energy. We like to think it runs on food and water. If we think about it, we'd say, well, it runs on food and water and sleep. But why sleep? How could resting, how could doing nothing give us energy? And here the yogic perspective, um, whom Bruno Groening spoke highly of the yogis, yogis being not teachers or preachers, but people who went out and practiced and lived yoga and attained high spiritual attainments in their bodies. The yogis point out that we're not really sleeping, we're communing with God. And that divine energy then permeates the body. And again, I cited the example of Ramana Maharshi, who had a profound state of communion with God that just never ended. And it was so deep that he didn't need to sleep. Again, I don't know how long, it was 40, 50, 60 years. So please, really, let's reflect on this and take this to heart that our primary, and in essence, our only need is God. Observing the body, trusting that every sensation, if we've given away the thought of illness, and if you haven't, please do so now, or if you've given it away and it comes back, please give it away. Every sensation a step towards our recovery. Having the intention to take in this energy, aligning ourselves with God. And that includes the body, aligning this body with the good, with goodness itself. Mm. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. Thanks for saying hi, forever loving everything. Hmm. Hi, Germana. Welcome back, Birdie. Thanks for saying hi. Ciao, Fabio. Nice to hear from you. Hi, Magdalena. Hmm. So, friends, before God, we're all very small. It's not something that we need to. We don't need to be afraid of God, but there is this sense of awe and reverence and this recognition of just an absolute how dependent we are, how utterly dependent. We like to think, oh, I can just go do whatever I want. I don't need God. And yet, according to the yogic tradition, we can't even exist a day, a moment without God. Because that very energy, here I'm talking on a physical level, the very energy that we have to act comes from God. Bruno Groening once pointed out, how important oxygen is to people. He said, but where does the energy come from that moves the lungs, that allows the lungs to take in this air? I'm not negating the need for air or food or water. I'm talking about something fundamentally more necessary than even that. Without the vital life force, we couldn't take a single breath, much less raise the fork to our mouths to take a single bite. So let's really reflect on, or I'm going to be reflecting on, and you're invited to join in, just our absolute utmost need for God. And from there, beginning to reflect on this idea of being led by God, being guided. God is the God is the master, us as the students. I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. I'm currently experiencing a very deep state of peace, and I'm very grateful to each person who came by here. On my own, I'm able to have a very nice connection to the divine. And, here in a group setting, even though it's spread all around the world, my feeling is that we really support each other energetically through doing this work. So I'm going to close us with a prayer. Beloved Maker, thou which gave us the gift of life and that sustains us, please help us to recognize what actually sustains us. Most of us have been taught wrongly to look everywhere but to you for our health and our happiness. Please help us to recognize where our health and happiness really lies and where our life is, what gives us life and what keeps giving us life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, dear ones. See and feel you very soon. Take care. Much love.